I'm doing it. I'm selling everything. That's it. I'm out. Of course, I had to do one of these videos as my comeback video, guys. If anything, I'm selling all of my fiat to get into crypto because that is how bullish I am right now as I'm looking at the charts. And I just want to make sure that now that I'm back during these next 200 days, I can keep you updated on everything you need to know as to why I'm this bullish. In fact, there are charts that are showing that Bitcoin could reach even 300,000 this cycle and upward of that number. So I'm going to take you through some of these bigger picture charts so you can remember to zoom out in these times and not to give up when the market has been sort of choppy and a long consolidation, and time capitulation is one of the worst types of capitulations because that's when people start to lose it. They start to give up, throw in the towel. Not on this channel. In fact, I'm going to quote CZ. If you sold the dip, you need to unfollow the weak minds and follow the right people. So on that note, if you like this content, smash a like, hit the subscribe, and share this with your friends because there is so much building up right now. We're on such a massive opportunity. I believe the risk reward is astounding right now to the upside, and that's what I'm positioning myself for. In fact, I believe we're at that inflection point in blockchain technology where we could be seeing the next Amazon, Uber, Google moment. We may have the opportunity to invest in those horses of the blockchain world right now in this moment as they're starting to form. In fact, it took Amazon 10 years before it really found its footing and then became what it is today, which is the fourth most valuable company in the world. Imagine that we could be at that point now in blockchain. Right? So I want to get you excited for this. I'm going to show you all those horses that I believe have a chance to win the race, or at least some of them on this episode. We're going to go over Bitcoin dominance, what altcoin season might look like, as well as what's happening next potentially for Bitcoin. And also we're going to follow the money. Liquidity is one of the biggest, most important factors in this whole bigger picture. And we haven't even had that proper liquidity injection yet in the rate cuts. The M2 global money supply is skyrocketing, but Bitcoin is still lagging, and there's just so much to tell me that this next part, this fourth leg of the bull run, is going to be absolutely massive. So on that note, I'm your host, Megan Nilsson, aka Crypto Megan, and let's get right into this. All right, so I'm so excited for this one. Here's this tweet again by CZ. I want to drill it in your minds. If you sold the dip, you need to unfollow the weak minds and follow the right people. If you like this information, give me a follow. I'm going to try to present you with all of the most compelling charts and evidence and perspectives in order to help you have success in these markets. Also follow Capital Mindset, who are continually giving us the absolute best charts and the best setups. So that's just it, guys. Like, set yourself up to win. We are now coming up to the part where we could potentially make life-changing wealth, and you don't want to mess this up. So stay laser focused now. Now is the time. And I'm just going to catch you up briefly on everything that's happened in this past 10 days. If you haven't been following the news, we had a very big scare with the war between Iran and Israel. And there's news now that Bitcoin reclaims 104,000 as President Trump calls for peace with Iran. In fact, Bitcoin is now currently almost sitting at 107,000 as there was a ceasefire, and it seems as though war fears have been dwindling. And Trump also said, he broadcasted this as it was happening, saying Israel's not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it's kind of strange because both parties were just kind of broadcasting what they were doing publicly. So there was a lot of chatter and a lot of thought as to what actually was going on here. It was sort of a strange situation. Thank God that, there is a ceasefire, and it seems that that's dwindling because nobody wants war. We don't want to be torn apart. We want to be united and brought together, and we don't want anybody to be hurt. So that's good news. It just leaves us with the question, what actually happened in the background? So we'll go over some other theories later in the middle of the stream, but that's not the important part now. Also, a lot of fake news. I mean, that's the problem now. So there's so many different outlets reporting so many different things. It's hard to know what's real and what's not. Trump got on here and says, fake news, CNN, together with a failing New York Times, have teamed up in an attempt to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history. The nuclear sites in Iran are completely destroyed both times, and CNN are getting slammed by the public. So there was a report circulating that actually Iran had evacuated all of, that entire site before it was bombed, and that actually they didn't take out their nuclear site. And so there's just been so much news circulating. So Trump is saying that's all fake news. And now I want to focus on some other things that have been happening while all of this turmoil and chaos in the world has been unfolding, because behind the scenes, actually, things are very, very bullish, because Bitcoin wasn't actually that affected, and neither was the stock market when all of this with Iran and Israel and now the US took place, right? And also in the meantime, Michael Saylor hints at buying more Bitcoin. Nothing stops the orange. So he just keeps buying. It just seems like the markets were unshaken, really, by this news, as if they knew that this wasn't going to be a thing, long term at least. At least we can hope so, right? And then we've got all of the kind of Michael Saylors popping up around the world now, or micro strategy type strategies. And one of them is Anthony Pompliano. We purchased 3,724 Bitcoin. This purchase happened within 1 day after announcing a $1 billion merger and over $750 million in fundraise. The average price was 103,785 per Bitcoin. We believe Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate. If you can't beat it, you have to buy it. That's brilliant. I mean, average price of 103,000, almost 104,000 Bitcoin. That is wild. So if you're wondering if you're late to the party, I mean, just look at these headlines. Just look at these headlines and decide for yourself. We've also got Metaplanet from Japan announcing more Bitcoin buys, also just a similar strategy to MicroStrategy, and these are starting to pop up now everywhere as people are starting to catch on. And if you needed more perspective of this, check this out. Bitcoin is at 3% adoption in 2025. 3% is so minimal. Look at this. This is equivalent to social media users in 2005 or the internet users in 1990. So it's the same as online banking in 1996, social media in 2005, and internet in 1990. That is where we have teleported back to in blockchain terms, right? Like that's where we're at now. So everybody who asks me, am I too late? You are most definitely not too late. But as time goes on, we'll see less volatility, which will equate to not so exponential gains. So now is the time to get involved. We are right on the cusp, guys. I truly believe. More perspective for you. You do realize that the current part of the Bitcoin chart will be a flat line in a few years, right? So this is from 2020. And this is what, so CZ was calling, looking back at the 2014 era and looking how flatlined that is now. And he's comparing it to 2020. He's saying, you do realize this mega massive peak will be the same sort of flatline in just a few years. And now zoom in today, here is that flat line from 2020. It has become a flat line. It's absolutely incredible. It's hard for the human brain to comprehend exponential growth, but that is what's happening here. You better understand, you better believe it. And my goal on this channel is just, if you're thinking about giving up or, this time-based capitulation of this long, sort of boring period where we slowly grind down into the right, at least in altcoins, just hang in there, have conviction in what you're investing in. Of course, always follow your plan. And this is not financial advice, but my God, if you want to have success in these markets, just hang on. Now is not the time to capitulate. Here we have a chart from Plan B. Bitcoin has tracked power law very well. The question is, will we see a 2013, 17, 2021 like bull run with RSI 80 plus red dots? And if so, how high will Bitcoin go from here? 100x like 2013? No. 10x like 2017, potentially, 4x like 2021, or 2x to 200K like most people think? Or is it 5 to 10x in line with the stock to flow? Now, none of this is impossible here. In fact, in the intro, I told you that there are some charts that show Bitcoin going into the mid 300,000s to 400,000s this cycle, and several charts that show that. So nothing is impossible, guys. And like I said, it's very hard to understand exponential growth. So that being said, I'm adjusting my strategy accordingly. I'm doubling down on these dips. I believe dips in the bull market are for buying, and we are very much in a bull market. In fact, I said in my video yesterday, as long as, in the macro picture, we can still be bullish on a macro level in the late 80,000s, right? Like that is still a bull run for Bitcoin. So I don't believe it's going to go back down there before ripping up. My personal opinion based on what I'm seeing. But again, my opinion doesn't matter. It's only what the charts say and what's going to happen next. So let's keep going. Just to confirm, Bitcoin is still in a bull market. I see some people turning bearish and shorting, but the data tells a different story, a bullish story, in my opinion. I would most definitely agree. Next up, I wanted to show some winners from the Capital Mindset Trading Group as we had this, relief rally, you'll call it, with the altcoins that are starting to bubble up now. The Capital Mindset is continuously nailing all the best setups. And that's why the group is so amazing. You don't have to filter through. You don't have to find the ones. Our lead analyst, Trip, and all of our other talented analysts are doing those every day in real time. So we have LQTY here for a 20% gain. And this is just in a matter of a few days. Hi-Fi for a 20% gain. I also got into this ADA setup that Trip posted in the group the other day, just 2 days ago. Very low leverage, but now almost 20% in profit in just a few days. Guys, this group is life-changing, and if you join now, you're getting in right before we have the chance to make those life-changing gains. And when I say life-changing, I mean change your life forever. Quit your job. Reach financial freedom. I mean, you can do this. It is possible, and we don't get these kind of opportunities in life very often. So if you do want to ride the wave with us, if you want to learn how to trade, if you want to learn how to leverage trade, the link is in the description below to the Capital Mindset Trading Group. It's just phenomenal. So I highly recommend you get going. Stay laser focused. I'm going to keep repeating that throughout this because it's time to win, guys. It's time to get this right, and we can with the right guidance. And so it's a phenomenal opportunity. Next up, we have the Bitcoin updated chart on a 2-hour from the Capital Mindset. So we are just below that $107,000 level as it stands. A lot of people are talking about, potentially another leg down to the $95,000 to $96,000 region. But what we really need to see here in order for Bitcoin to continue on its run and not swipe the lows again or even lower is just breaking out above its old all-time high. It's as simple as that. We need to see this swing up break out and break above its previous all-time high in order for Bitcoin to continue on this run, or else we're going to have some more consolidation and potentially a greater pullback. So this is another chart I wanted to show from the Capital Mindset that's kind of just been mapping out this move, kind of comparing it to a similar formation here from the Bitcoin one-day March to November 2024. And it's looking eerily similar. So here we're at this red portion right now on this current pump up. And the question is, will we continue within this pattern like we did back in March to November 2024 and have another swipe of lows? Or will it just break right out of this formation and continue on to the upside? Time will tell, but we're following that right now as we speak in the Capital Mindset. The important part is that we maintain above that crucial $100,000 psychological level, which we've been able to do so far. So let's see what happens. But man, I am very, very bullish on what's to come. Now, that $300 price target that I spoke about earlier, this is just one of the charts that shows where we could potentially head. These are all from the Capital Mindset, by the way. I'm just giving you guys some gems for free on the YouTube for being a part of my community and to get you to open up your mind and have a greater perspective. Don't get stuck in the noise of the fake news and the real news and the day-to-day. Just focus on what's at hand here. So in 2014, this is the 2014 to 17 log scale. And as you can see right now, currently in current day, 2021 to 2025, we are right at the 1.272. And we're building support on that. Just like we did here in this current cycle. And from that support, we had a springboard all the way up to the 2.272. And guess what? That whole area is from $307,600 to $462,000 Bitcoin. So in the 2014 to 17, we springboarded all the way up to this area before retracing back just below the 1.618. And then we consolidated and flipped the 1.618 into support eventually. So that would be phenomenal to see that here in this cycle. It is possible. And these longer term charts really kind of give you an idea of where we could be headed. Now we get back to the Iran and Israel news, as President Trump seems to have had a day yesterday, and just listen to what he said.
You know what we basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, it's I've never really heard a president express it in this way, but it seems to me that he's really fed up with the situation, and people are getting very disappointed in him, as he seemingly triggered this or almost triggered this war by bombing Iran's nuclear site, but now suddenly there's a ceasefire just days later. All right, so I just want to cover this topic. I'm not going to explain it too in depth because a lot of YouTubers have been getting strikes now, but you can read a little bit for yourself. Big show or backdoor deal. So basically, he was one of those people that was proliferating this so-called fake news saying that the nuclear facilities were evacuated beforehand and that all this was pre-coordinated so that nothing was actually struck with people being there or equipment being there, that it was just a big show, right? And so is saying they had U.S. and Iran held secret talks in Oman days before and no one knows what was agreed upon. And Trump essentially explained that such a deal was done previously in the attached video. So check out this video actually where he does say that this did happen previously.
Before you go too far, would have never happened with me. I had Iran in check. Do you know, we hit them very hard for something that they did, and they had to hit back. They feel they have to do that, and I understand that. Do you know they called me to tell me we're going to hit a certain location, but we're not going to hit it. It's going to be outside of the perimeters.
Who called you?
Iran called me. Iran called for me. And they let us know, and we had 16 missiles went off. I believe it was 16. 6 or 7 failed in the air.
When was this?
This was prior to the attack on a fort that we had where they hit back. Do you remember when they sent 18 missiles or 16 missiles? 5 failed. They let us know, don't move. We're going to have to hit you back. Psychologically, we have to do that because we hit them on something. You remember. They sent 16 or 18 missiles, and we knew they weren't going to hit inside the fort. And the media was going, and now I reveal it, the media was going wild because they say it's strange. They're very accurate missiles. How come they all missed? Nobody was killed, if you remember.
Yes,
with all of those missiles, nobody was killed. Now, they had to do it because they have people and they have to show strength. So they aimed the missiles, but they said, please don't attack us. We're not going to hit you. That was respect. We had respect.
And here we have, P.S. It's a geopolitical observation I made. I could be wrong. People need to understand that the government are not telling us the truth most of the time and that not everything is as it seems. The authorities need consent, so they make shows for you. So basically he's just saying, you know, let's just not take everything we see at face value. Okay, so now we're going to get to the part where we're following the liquidity and we're following the money and we're understanding why we have just barely even gotten started. We're just scratching the surface because all of this that has happened with Bitcoin exploding to new all-time highs has happened without the liquidity injection from previous cycles. So Justin, Vice President J.D. Vance slams the Fed Chair Powell. I'd love to hear an argument for why Powell cuts rates 50 points right before an election, but can't do it now with inflation lower. So they're arguing that there's a lot of weird things in play here as the Fed refuses to cut rates continually now, and he's getting a lot of pressure from President Trump and the administration to do so. Here's Trump. Too late, Jerome Powell of the Fed will be in Congress today in order to explain, among other things, why he's refusing to lower the rate. Europe has had 10 cuts. We have had 0. No inflation, great economy. We should be at least 2 to 3 points lower. Would save the USA $800 billion per year plus. What a difference this would make. If things later change to the negative, increase the rate. I hope Congress really works this very dumb, hard-headed person over. We will be paying for his incompetence for many years to come. The board should activate, make America great again. Ooh, so he's arguing that actually Powell is costing the country a lot of money by not being nimble, by not making changes quickly, and just adapting where necessary, right? So he's getting a lot of pressure now. So on that note about liquidity, we have here from Virtual Bacon, one of my favorite YouTubers in the space. If you don't understand global liquidity, you don't understand crypto cycles. Follow the money, not the headlines. And he then says that we shouldn't be so rigid about the 4-year cycle, as actually what it largely depends on is this liquidity. So if we don't get that top in October to November, that we shouldn't worry about it because this is largely liquidity based. So we might start ebbing and flowing into a new type of structure, which could even potentially lead to a super cycle or something mirroring the SPX, where we're going up and to the right for many, many years, and we don't get these prolonged, pronounced bear markets at the end of the 4-year cycle. So it's just something to keep in mind. Here we have a chart. M2 money supply theory sounds about right. There's a lot of mixed signals, but the only one that really matters is liquidity. Follow the money. Bitcoin versus global M2 with a 100-day lag as it takes time for liquidity to inject. It's clear we're printing our way out. That is a beautiful chart, guys. So it's saying that, this is the global M2 liquidity and Bitcoin lags it by about 100 days. This is all like a lot of confluence to show that we are on the verge of a big rally coming. And here we have M2 money supply growth supports Bitcoin, but altcoins need actual liquidity. Unless central banks inject printed money into their balance sheets, it won't flow into risk assets. M2 is not the same as liquidity. Track the Fed if you're betting on an altcoin rally. So he's saying in order to have a true altcoin season, we need the Fed to inject liquidity back into the markets again. And I believe that's going to be happening imminently. And he also goes on to say that he believes that altcoins will melt faces this cycle, guys. Make no mistake. I believe we are going to have a massive altcoin run. All right, now I'm going to show you the Bitcoin dominance chart here. This is on the weekly, and this is around the 73% dominance mark. So as you can see, we had a pretty nice altcoin season in 2019 and 2020, but nothing compared to what happened in 2021 when dominance basically just fell off a cliff all the way back down to 39%. Now we're slowly and steadily climbing in this rising channel, potentially back up to that 73%. If Bitcoin dominance breaks out of this rising channel to the upside, it can be a parabolic run to the upside. So will we tag that 73% mark and then roll off the cliff and have mega altcoin season? Time will tell, but if previous cycles have anything to do with it. I mean, it's been astounding because even these tiny little blips on the radar of pullbacks from Bitcoin dominance this cycle have equated to pretty big gains in the altcoins. So it doesn't take a huge move like previous cycles in order for altcoins to start moving again. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this cycle. So this is a chart from the Capital Mindset ETH 3-day. ETH is showing strength in the market, as we had a potential bear trap now as ETH flips back above this 618 level. And now we're trying to turn that resistance area into support. So this is a support entry here at $2,113. And Ethereum's currently sitting just above $2,400. And will we see this back another run to the top of this channel at $4,000? If this holds, that would be phenomenal. So ETH is looking strong. One of the top winners that we've had in these past couple days in the Capital Mindset currently just broke out above this level at about 27 cents and is retesting now. So the measured move of this inverse head and shoulders is 45 cents and change. So big moves on the horizon for altcoins. I believe they're just starting to bubble up. They're just starting to wake up. In fact, I want to point out what I talked about in the intro about it being the inflection point for blockchain technology and how Amazon performed in its first years, because it's very telling. These all the cryptos besides Bitcoin are essentially softwares that are doing something, that are meant to help with something, the infrastructure of the internet. That's what I'm interested in investing in, the picks and shovel plays that will power this layer of the internet, right? So let's have a look at Amazon's performance in the first 10 years. It's actually astounding. So its IPO was in May 1997 when it launched at a share price of $18. And in 1998 to 99, it skyrocketed 5,000% in the dot-com mania boom. And by the end of 1999. So extremely high volatility, daily swings of 10 to 20%. That's huge for a stock. So then imagine what that would equate to in crypto, what we've been seeing, right? And some of the altcoins down 70, 80% or more. And these swings were not uncommon as early investor sentiment and media buzz amplified. Now, then it had the crash, as we all know, in the dot-com bust in 2000 to 2001, 2002. And from its peak at 113, went all the way back down to $6. So then it had a bit of a dry spell, a drop of 95%. That's Amazon, guys. This isn't a crypto. This is Amazon. Investors were concerned. There was massive daily and weekly swings, often tied to broader market sentiment and earning reports. And then we've got the stabilization in 2003 to 2006. So by 2003, Amazon began turning modest profits and showing operational discipline. I believe that's kind of where we're turning the corner with some of those projects that have been building since the beginning, like Proppy, which I'm going to show you in this episode, as well as Theta. And I already showed you Ethereum is doing phenomenal. And say is actually just a good trade. Fundamentally, I don't know how far it'll make, but I'm talking about those ones that have been around to stand the test of time, that continue to innovate, right? And potentially the new ones that could be the horses to bet on in the race as well. Say it could very well be one of those. So The recovery begins by 2003 and the stock rebounds to $40 by early 2026. So it was still volatile. While less erratic than during the crash, volatility remained, especially around earnings and macroeconomic news. And so here it just shows the different swings throughout the years. And the key takeaway here is that Amazon's first decade was a roller coaster, from explosive IPO gains to catastrophic losses and a slow, fundamentally driven recovery, which is where I see a lot of these altcoins now. Daily and monthly volatility was among the highest on the NASDAQ, and long-term holders faced massive drawdowns, but also benefited from exponential recovery. Exponential recovery, guys. That's what I mean, and it is now blossomed what it is today to one of the fourth most valuable company in the world. So I believe we have this chance now in crypto. And your kids are going to say, "Wow, I can't believe you found the Amazon, the Uber, and the Google of blockchain. That's incredible." And you wrote it all the way up. So this is about Theta. I got this from Digital Dave, Crazy for Cryptos group. If you're not signed up, you should sign up. It's absolutely amazing. And this is just some guy talking about how, signal or noise, threat or promise. The internet asks those questions. Edge Cloud is asking them again. AI, streaming, compute, storage. Theta is building for industries with hundreds of billions in revenue at stake. This isn't just about crypto. It's about who runs the infrastructure underneath it all. T-Fuel isn't a bet. It's a position before the next S-curve hits. I truly believe this is a true statement here. And again, infrastructure, the picks and shovels, guys. That's what I see Theta as being as well. And here we have everyone sleeping on Theta. While CT chases the next hype coin, Theta's been quietly building in the most stacked real-world partner Web3 ecosystem crypto. Just look at its lineup. So all of the people that are behind it: Google, Samsung, Sony, CAA, Binance, Sierra Ventures, so many more. And they got patents, real IP, infra running, and now GPU sharing is launching. You'll be able to earn T-Fuel by repurposing old graphics cards to power the network. Old tech, new money. Theta is the Web3 YouTube, Netflix, plus AWS, and it's sitting under $1. All-time high was $16. Do the math. You're looking at a potential 20x if it returns to all-time highs, and that's before the new wave of use cases take off. The Theta pump will be violent. You don't want to buy the candle. You want to own the matchstick. Wow, this is such a great post. Shout out to the guy who did this post. I mean, whoa. Yeah, I truly believe so. And Theta under $1, Proppy under $1, and all just with phenomenal use cases that are the infrastructure of their industries, right? So here's a Theta chart that we posted in the group just to get an idea of what it could do in the midterm. So this is a daily chart, and we were watching for a break of this small falling wedge here, and actually it is currently about to break out of that channel as we speak, and it did hit this key range of support down here. For those of you who got that entry in our group, congratulations, that was a phenomenal entry. And yeah, so now we're just looking at the one day 200 SMA, whether or not we can flip and hold that level, and also the point of control here at $1.38, and a run up to all the way to $3.15 if so and beyond for Theta. I believe we would just be getting started with this move. Really big things coming. And here you can see in a visual sense what Theta did. It tapped this key level of support down here, and we're just about to break out of this falling wedge now on the daily. So keep your eyes on Theta. So this is a chart from the Capital Mindset. We also did a one day that shows a massive double bottom forming. And if we can break and hold the one day 200 MA, the double bottom measure move is all the way up to $7.75, guys. It's astounding. I believe that Proppy could hit anywhere from $10 to $15 a cycle and beyond, depending on how heated this cycle gets. I think it's highly undervalued where it's at. And this is just a 3-day chart to show you some of the key levels here. Proppy is one to keep an eye on for sure. And here we have H-bar showing tons of bullish divergence across many time frames. Just 5 alone on the one day suggests a decent move incoming for H-bar. I am very bullish on H-bar as well. I believe they're building out another important infrastructure in the RWA sector, and also robust and that enterprise grade scalability. I believe that they are building this now, and I really like what I'm seeing. So here's the double bottom formation potentially forming on the 1 hour. Right now, as we speak, we're currently just right on this key level of support. So could potentially be a great entry for H bar. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it gave you a greater perspective on what's happening right now in the crypto markets. And again, I just want to nail it home. Do not give up now. We are in the final stretch of the most parabolic phase of this bull run. I'll be uploading a bonus video with a capital mindset today as well to show you just exactly what I mean by the next parabolic run up. It's about to get crazy here, crazy bullish in my opinion. So I just wanted to get on here and express that today. And thank you so much for being here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you lasted all the way to the end, man, I appreciate you here. We're all doing this together and we're on the road to that financial freedom. So thank you again, guys. Have a wonderful week and I'll see you tomorrow.